You have been lied to. They told you to be liked, to be agreeable, to please others. Yet look at those who are liked the most. They are often used, ignored, and discarded. The truth is this: in the harsh game of power, being liked is weakness. What you truly need is respect. I am your guide through the shadows of human nature. Today, we will unmask a brutal reality drawn from the wisdom of Niccolò Machiavelli. We shall learn why you must stop chasing approval, and instead, embrace the dark and enduring power of respect. This is not advice for the gentle-hearted. It is a weapon for those who dare to rule, rather than be ruled. Why do so many of you crave to be liked? Why do you shape your words, your actions, even your very identity around the approval of others? It is because from childhood, you were trained to equate likability with survival. Teachers praised you when you smiled. Friends rewarded you when you agreed. Society told you that popularity was the gateway to success. And so, like obedient subjects, you bent yourself to fit their expectations. But in truth, this training was not for your benefit. It was for theirs. For the one who is obsessed with being liked is the easiest to control. Consider this: when you want to be liked, you hand over your power. You allow others to dictate how you should behave, what you should say, and even what you should believe. You become a mirror reflecting their desires back at them. They are pleased with you, yes, but only because you are convenient to them. The moment you cease to please, their affection vanishes. Likability is conditional, temporary, fragile. It is built on quicksand. And yet, millions of men and women spend their entire lives building their identities upon this unstable ground. Look at the workplace, where so many seek to be the nice colleague, the one everyone enjoys being around. They laugh at jokes they do not find funny. They take on tasks they should not accept. They soften their words so as not to offend. They gain smiles, perhaps, but what do they lose? Respect. Authority, influence. When the time comes for promotion, the one who is liked is often overlooked, while the one who is respected and even feared takes the throne. Likability wins you laughter. Respect wins you power. And yet, people cling to likability because it feels safe. To be liked is to be embraced, to be surrounded by warmth. But safety is the disguise of weakness. If everyone likes you, it is because you have made yourself harmless. No one fears the sheep. No one respects the servant. No one bows before the entertainer. They may clap for you, yes, but their applause is hollow. For the moment you demand something in return, the moment you assert your will, the illusion shatters, and those who liked you yesterday will turn away today. Think also of relationships. How many men debase themselves in pursuit of a woman's affection? How many women diminish their strength to keep a man's approval? They think that by being agreeable, by giving everything, by never saying no, they will be loved eternally. But in truth, they become disposable, for when you give too much, when you are too eager to please, you are taken for granted. The respected man or woman, however, does not bend so easily. They do not beg to be liked. They command attention through presence, through confidence, through self-mastery. And it is this that endures long after shallow affection has died. Do not misunderstand me. There is nothing inherently wrong with being liked. It can be pleasant, even useful, but the trap lies in dependency. When your self-worth depends on the smiles of others, you are already defeated. You cannot lead, you cannot command, you cannot even live authentically, because every word from your mouth is weighed against how it will be received. You live as a prisoner of perception, and prisoners do not rule kingdoms. The truly dangerous thing about likability is that it disguises itself as virtue. Society praises the likable man as kind, the agreeable woman as noble. You are told that to be liked is to be good, that to be disliked is to be cruel, arrogant, or cold. But Machiavelli taught us long ago that morality is a tool of the powerful, used to keep others obedient. They call you arrogant when you assert authority. They call you cold when you refuse to bend. They call you cruel when you demand respect. Yet history remembers not the liked, but the respected. Kings are not remembered for their charm, but for their ability to command. Generals are not celebrated for their likability, but for their victories. Greatness is not born from approval. It is born from strength. And so, the trap of being liked is simple. It lulls you into weakness while convincing you that you are strong. You think yourself loved, but you are merely tolerated. You think yourself safe, but you are only harmless. You think you have influence, but you are ignored when it matters most. Crowd that applauds you today will abandon you tomorrow if someone more entertaining arrives. And the friends who like you for your obedience will disappear the moment you stand for something that does not please them. Likability is not loyalty, it is not respect, it is not power. It is air, invisible and fleeting, gone with the slightest wind. Respect, a word spoken often, yet understood by few. Most confuse it with politeness, with friendliness, with being admired. But true respect is something far deeper, far darker, and infinitely more valuable. Unlike likability, respect does not live on shallow smiles or fleeting approval. It is carved into the minds of others through strength, through presence, through an undeniable aura that forces people to acknowledge you, even if they do not like you. Respect begins with perception. When people look at you, what do they see? Do they see someone who bends easily, someone who avoids conflict, someone who can be pushed without resistance? If so, you will never be respected. For respect is born not from how much others enjoy you, but from how much they fear losing you, how much they know you cannot be trifled with. A respected individual does not need to beg for attention. Their silence is louder than the chatter of the liked. Their disapproval weighs heavier than the applause of the crowd. Think of a king sitting upon his throne. Does he win the loyalty of his subjects by being liked? No. He secures it by establishing authority, by displaying his capacity to command, by proving that he is not to be taken lightly. His people may not always smile at his rule, but they know he governs with power. That is respect. The merchant may be liked for his generosity. The jester may be liked for his humor, but only the king commands obedience, and obedience is born of respect. Respect is not charm. Charm can win attention, but it does not last. A charming man may delight a room, but the moment his tricks grow stale, he is forgotten. Respect endures beyond moods, beyond trends, beyond emotions. It is written into the mind as a recognition of strength. To respect someone is to admit their superiority in some measure, to acknowledge that their presence carries weight. And that weight does not disappear simply because affection fades. Consider the battlefield. Soldiers do not follow a general because they like his personality. They follow because they respect his discipline, his intelligence, his proven ability to lead them to victory. They may even fear him, but that fear compels them to fight harder, to stand taller, to obey without hesitation. Respect in this form is not soft. It is sharp, like a blade pressed against the skin. It reminds people constantly of what is at stake should they disobey or underestimate the one who commands. Now look to the world you live in. In business, in politics, even in daily interactions, you will notice the same truth. The respected voice carries weight, while the liked voice is often ignored. A boss who is liked but not respected is endlessly manipulated, his employees laughing behind his back as they exploit his softness. But a boss who commands respect sets boundaries, demands excellence, and instills a discipline that cannot be mocked. Even those who dislike him in private obey him in public because his authority is undeniable. That is the nature of respect. It binds people to actions even when their hearts resist. Do not confuse respect with cruelty. Respect does not come from abusing others, nor does it arise from empty threats. It is built upon strength that is visible, consistent, and undeniable. People respect competence. They respect mastery. They respect the individual who demonstrates control over themselves and their circumstances. A man who cannot master his own impulses will never command the respect of others. A woman who seeks validation from the crowd will never carry the presence of one who rules herself. Respect begins within, before it is recognized without. There is also another truth. Respect often carries with it a shadow of fear. This is not the fear of terror or abuse, but the fear of consequence. When people respect you, they fear the cost of betraying you. They fear the weight of disappointing you. They fear what they will lose if they cross you. This fear binds stronger than affection ever can. For affection is a gift freely given and freely taken away. But fear of consequence lingers, reminding people of the price they must pay if they fail to uphold their side of the balance. This is why those who chase likability fail to ever earn true respect. For in their eagerness to please, they erase their own edges, they dull their own presence, they remove all reasons for others to treat them seriously. They may be loved in the moment, but no one fears the consequences of disappointing them. No one hesitates before lying to them. No one stops before betraying them. But the respected man, the respected woman, they are treated differently. A lie against them carries weight. A betrayal against them carries risk. A dismissal of their presence carries shame. And so people tread carefully, for they know they stand before someone who cannot be ignored. In every realm of life, from the throne to the battlefield, from the boardroom to the family table, the nature of respect remains constant. It is not about being liked. It is not about being agreeable. It is about carrying such strength, such mastery, such unshakable presence, that others cannot help but acknowledge your power, even if they never show you affection. And that acknowledgement, silent or spoken, is the mark of true respect. There is a truth that most men fear to confront, a truth so sharp it cuts through the illusions we wrap ourselves in. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. These words, spoken by Niccolò Machiavelli, are not the fantasies of a cruel mind, but the observations of one who studied power as a surgeon studies the body, cutting into it, revealing its bones, stripping away its comforting layers. Machiavelli understood that human affection is fleeting, but fear, when properly managed, endures. You see, love and affection are luxuries, they are ornaments. They depend upon emotion, and emotion is the weakest of all foundations. A man may love you today and hate you tomorrow. A woman may adore you this morning and despise you by nightfall. Love changes with moods, with fortune, with convenience. It is not steady, it is not reliable. And a ruler, a leader, a person of power cannot build their dominion on sand that shifts with every breeze. But fear is different. Fear is not fickle. It binds itself to survival. People fear losing what they value. They fear punishment. They fear consequences. And unlike love, fear does not require constant nurturing. Love demands gifts, attention, kindness, endless demonstrations to maintain itself. Fear requires only one thing, the memory of consequence. Once instilled, it lingers in the mind like a shadow, guiding behavior even when you are not present. Now some will recoil at this, saying, "But surely to be feared is cruel, surely to be loved is better, surely to be gentle is nobler." This is the voice of weakness speaking, the voice of those who mistake morality for strategy. Machiavelli did not argue against love, he understood its utility. If you can be loved and feared at once, you have achieved something rare. But when forced to choose, when reality demands a decision, it is respect born of fear that will protect you, not love born of affection. For love gives people the courage to betray you, while fear makes them hesitate. Imagine a leader who is loved by his followers. They cheer him, they praise him, they speak of his kindness. Yet when adversity comes, when danger arrives, how many of those followers will remain? Their love will dissolve into self-preservation, and their loyalty will wither. Now imagine a leader who is respected and feared. His men may not love him, they may even curse his name in silence, but they will march behind him, for they know the weight of disobedience. Which leader survives? Which leader secures victory? History answers this question without mercy. Respect and fear intertwine, but they are not the same as cruelty. Machiavelli warned of this too. A ruler who is hated will fall, for hatred is stronger than fear. To be feared without being hated is the balance that must be mastered. It requires intelligence, control, restraint. You instill fear, not through reckless brutality, but through demonstrating power, setting unshakable boundaries, and enforcing consequences with precision. Cruelty breeds rebellion, but respect wrapped in fear breeds obedience. And obedience is the currency of power. Look at the great empires of history. The Roman generals were not remembered for being loved. They were remembered because men trembled at their discipline. The monarchs who endured were not the ones who sought affection from their subjects, but the ones who ruled with authority, who demanded respect, who punished betrayal with swiftness and rewarded loyalty with calculated generosity. Machiavelli studied these rulers not with sentiment, but with cold realism, and he saw the same pattern repeating across centuries. The loved ruler is vulnerable, the respected ruler endures. Even in your own life, this truth reveals itself. Think of the workplace, where the kind manager who wants to be everyone's friend is quietly mocked, ignored, even manipulated. He wins affection, yes, but no one takes him seriously. Now look at the manager who commands respect, who sets standards, who tolerates no betrayal. His employees may not like him, but they work harder, they produce results. They hesitate before failing him. Which of these managers will keep his position? Which of them will be trusted in moments of crisis? You already know the answer. The same applies to personal relationships. When you live only to be loved, you give others control over you. They know you fear losing their affection, so they exploit it. But when you command respect, people treat you differently. They may not always shower you with warmth, but they recognize your worth. They hesitate before crossing you. They measure their actions in your presence. And in this hesitation lies your strength. For people may betray the one they love, but they rarely betray the one they fear. This is the Machiavellian truth. Affection is fragile. Respect is iron. Love is a flame that flickers in the wind. But fear and respect are stone foundations upon which power can be built. A wise ruler, a wise leader, a wise individual does not chase the comfort of being loved. They build instead the fortress of respect, guarded by the watchful shadow of fear. And while the loved may be remembered fondly, it is the respected who survive, who endure, who command history itself. There comes a moment when a man must decide, will he live as a servant to approval, or will he rise to command respect? For when you stop seeking to be liked, you step into a realm few dare to enter, the realm of dark power. This power is not given, it is taken. It is carved from the stone of discipline, hardened by trials, sharpened by will. To unlock it, you must abandon the soft chains of likability and embrace the iron weight of respect. Only then do you begin to wield true authority. Understand this, the world bends not to those who are liked, but to those who are respected. When you speak, people listen not because they enjoy you, but because your words carry weight. When you act, they do not applaud out of affection, but because your presence makes them hesitate, calculating the cost of ignoring you. This hesitation is the first glimpse of dark power, the invisible force that shapes behavior, not through love, but through the silent recognition of strength. Dark power is freedom. When you are no longer enslaved to the smiles of others, you speak truth without hesitation. You set boundaries without fear. You demand what is yours without apology. The man who seeks likability asks permission. The man who wields respect simply takes his place at the table. And when he sits, no one dares remove him, for they know the consequence. This is how dark power liberates. It frees you from the endless cycle of pleasing others and binds others to the reality of your authority. But do not mistake dark power for cruelty. It is not about oppression, nor is it about dominating others through brute force. Dark power is control, first over yourself, then over the perceptions of those around you. It is the mastery of presence, the command of silence, the ability to speak few words and yet shift the entire atmosphere of a room. The one who possesses this power does not need to shout, does not need to beg. They are felt even before they are heard, and that presence is what compels respect. Consider the leaders who carved their names into history. They did not waste time begging for affection. They ruled through strength, discipline, and calculated displays of power. Their people may not have adored them, but they obeyed them, and obedience is the true measure of authority. Dark power is not about being admired, it is about being undeniable. When your presence alone demands acknowledgement, you no longer compete for attention, you command it. Unlocking this power requires sacrifice. You must sacrifice the comfort of being liked, the sweetness of constant approval, the softness of never offending anyone. For every time you choose to speak the truth rather than what others want to hear, you risk their affection. Every time you enforce a boundary, you invite criticism. Every time you demonstrate strength, you stir envy. But this sacrifice is the crucible from which respect is born. The man who avoids sacrifice remains liked but powerless. The man who embraces sacrifice earns respect and ascends into authority. Dark power also protects you. Those who live for likability are easy prey. They can be manipulated, betrayed, discarded because their need for approval blinds them. But the respected man is far more difficult to harm. Even his enemies hesitate. Even those who dislike him calculate carefully before they move against him. Why? Because they know that betrayal carries consequences, that disrespect will not go unanswered, that opposition will not come without cost. This shield, woven from respect, is stronger than the hollow armor of likability. There is a psychological force at play here. People are drawn to strength, even if they resent it. They may gossip about the strict leader, but in the moment of crisis, it is to him they turn. They may complain about the demanding general, but when the battle begins, it is his voice they follow. They may whisper against the stern father or the uncompromising mother, but deep inside they know that their strength creates safety, order, and direction. Respect compels loyalty in ways affection never can, because it appeals not to emotion, but to necessity. And here lies the essence of dark power. It endures. Likability fades with moods, but respect lasts as long as strength is maintained. The charming man will eventually be forgotten, replaced by someone younger, fresher, more entertaining. But the respected man, his presence lingers even after he leaves the room. His influence echoes even when he is silent. His authority is remembered long after his words have faded. That is the immortality of respect, the shadow of dark power that survives beyond the moment, beyond the crowd, beyond affection itself. When you unlock this power, you no longer live in reaction to others. You become the force they react to. You are no longer the one bending. You are the one shaping. You no longer need to be liked, because your respect is enough. And with that respect comes obedience, loyalty, influence, and the kind of strength that cannot be bought or borrowed. This is the path few dare to walk, but it is the only path that leads to true command. For the one who is merely liked is easily forgotten, but the one who is respected casts a shadow that no man can ignore. You have now seen the truth laid bare. To chase likability is to chain yourself to weakness, to waste your strength on the fleeting smiles of others. Respect, however, is forged in strength, in mastery, in the refusal to bend to every demand of the crowd. Machiavelli warned us, love is fragile, but fear and respect endure. And when you cease to beg for approval, when you shed the illusion of needing to be liked, you step into the realm of dark power. It is here that freedom is born. It is here that influence becomes unshakable. It is here that betrayal hesitates and obedience takes root. The world does not remember those who were liked. It remembers those who were respected. The choice stands before you. Will you live as the servant of affection, or will you rise as the master of respect?